Hey leader, David Burkus here, organizational psychologist and author of 4 best-selling books on helping leaders and teams do their best work ever. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why performance reviews don't help people do their best work ever. We're going to talk about why performance reviews fail so often and what you can do with your people instead. Let's get started. Let me start right off the bat by saying that the goals of performance reviews are noble. There was a time, it may be hard to remember, or you may work in an organization where this is actually still the norm, but there was a time where most people worked without any feedback. And we know that feedback helps people get better. We know that feedback is important. We know that Ken Blanchard said it's the breakfast of champions. It makes a pretty good lunch and dinner too. We know that people who legitimately want to get better want feedback. But you know what we also know? We know that performance reviews just aren't cutting it. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 reasons why performance reviews are not working. And we're going to talk about 3 things you can do instead, or really 1 thing in 3 parts. The first reason that performance reviews don't work is that they're often too late. You know, in a lot of organizations, the performance review, the formal one that really is the only one people pay attention to, happens once a year. Sometimes it might happen twice a year. And that's it. You might have little check-in conversations, you might get a little bit of feedback, but the formal, documented, let's go through every aspect of your job, it only happens once a year. And as a result, it's too late. It's quite simply too late to get people the feedback they need to change directions. I mean, it's almost like playing a football game, American rules or regular rules football, and not knowing the score going into halftime. How do you make course corrections? Right? If I told you you wouldn't get to know the score until a week after the game is complete, how do you make course corrections? But we do that all the time. Let's say we do performance reviews every 4th quarter. Well, that might help people get a little bit better in quarter 1, but when they face new challenges in Q2 and Q3, we don't have anything for them. The feedback we gave is too late to change any of the behaviors we may have observed in that period because it's been 6 months since Q2 if we're doing it in Q4. So it's just too late. The second reason that performance reviews don't work is that they're too generic. They're quite simply too generic. You may have 4 or 5 elements that define what somebody's performance in the role is. But you can tell just by reading the job description of the job they applied for that there are more tasks in that job than just collaborates well with others, meets deadlines, etc. Which is just too generic. We're trying to simplify it, and I get why we're doing it. We're trying to make it easier to give people feedback. Managers have a tough role in doing all of this performance review feedback, so I get it. We're trying to simplify, we're trying to bundle different tasks, different responsibilities together, but in doing so, it's just too generic. I mean, what is a meets expectations about meets deadlines and objectives? What does that mean? How does that help me get any better? It's quite simply too generic. The best feedback comes when you combine an observed behavior with the result of that behavior, positive or negative, and then how that behavior could be improved upon if it could be improved upon. And none of that happens when you have a broad generic category like that, unless they're doing the exact same behavior every single time. But if that's the case and they're not meeting expectations, let's be honest, they were let go of a long time ago, right? So if we're trying to give them feedback, we need to make it much more specific and much more actionable. And performance reviews just don't do that. And the third and final reason why performance reviews don't work is that they're too subjective. Right? I may be working with a team of 8 individuals and I have to give them feedback. And guess what I'm basing my recommendations for improvement on? I'm basing on how I would do it. I'm basing it on how my collection of knowledge, skills, and abilities, strengths, and weaknesses would go about the task. And unless I've got really, really good insight into that person's strengths and weaknesses, their knowledge, skills, abilities, their past experiences, I have no ability to do anything other than that. I have no ability to tailor it to them because I'm not a mind reader. So instead I give feedback about how I would do it. And then I get surprised when I get a team that is basically a monoculture that all thinks alike, acts alike, or our best performers who were divergent from the team have gone on and worked somewhere else. I shouldn't be surprised because I'm probably giving feedback that's too subjective. It's too much my opinion on how they can get better. And unless you're an incredibly skilled coach, unless you're incredibly skilled at bringing someone along to the own realization of how they can improve, you're probably filling in that performance review document with information that is way too subjective. So these are the three reasons that performance reviews fail, right? They're too late, they're too generic, and they're too subjective. So what should you do instead? Well, depending on your position in the organization, you probably can't scrap the performance review altogether, right? It probably can't happen. But there is something that you could do. There are a few things that you can do. And my favorite thing is to have regular check-in conversations with your team. These are off-the-record conversations in which you talk about three specific things: expectations, giving feedback, and then a growth and development conversation. So you review the expectations. What are we working on this quarter, or whatever this work period is? What are we working on this week? What do I expect from you? Or what standard of behavior do I expect from you? And then I give you feedback on that. And actually, I think this feedback conversation is probably back and forth. Because if you're not meeting those expectations, it may be something internal to you, it may be something external that I have to help you solve. So this feedback conversation is a two-way street, not a one-way street, and it follows reviewing those expectations and maybe setting expectations for a future. So expectations, feedback, and then lastly, a conversation about growth and development. You want to have honest conversations with where your people want to go based on where they're at right now. Talking once a year about someone's career plans in 2021 is a huge mistake. There are whole jobs that get invented 3 months and then they're gone, right? There are whole companies that are around for 18 months to 2 years and then they're gone. So someone's career plans, what they want to do, and also how their life could change very quickly and interfere with that, all of that, right, could be gone very, very quickly. So you want the ability to have open, honest conversations about growth and development often, so you can tie back why those expectations are so important, why that feedback is so important, and also so you can let them know that you support them, that you are working to get them the things they need, not only to thrive in this role, but to thrive in their whole life. And if you do that, you're gonna get a much more motivated and engaged team member. So performance reviews, they fundamentally don't work because they're too late, they're too generic, and they're too subjective. But if you can scrap that and just have these check-in conversations about expectations, feedback, growth, and development, you will dramatically improve the feedback your people are getting and the growth that they're experiencing. And if you can't do away with the annual performance review, still do the regular check-in conversations at least once a month. And when you have to fill out that document that HR gave you, well, it's just one more conversation about expectations, feedback, and growth and development. One more conversation that's helping you and the whole team do your best work ever.